We're here with Susan Tedeschi and Derek Trucks. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah, man.
It's now the Tedeschi Trucks Band. And we were just talking about it, but I remember seeing you in 2009 here in Toronto, and your kids were up as well. And Susan and I and a bunch of other people were sitting on the side stage, and Sonny Landreth was on stage with you, and Jerry Douglas. And I was just thinking in my head, this is like a really great family atmosphere. And this is what the future is for these two cats. I mean, it just made sense, you know, with Kofi and you playing with his brother in the Allman Brothers Band, and and fast forward a couple years, and it's the Tedeschi Trucks Band, and in fact, it is a family thing, right?
Yeah, you know, it's I mean, me and Susan, there's a married couple, there's the Burbridge brothers, there's our two drummers might as well be brothers. I mean, it's a close band, and you know, it's an 11-piece group, so. You know, it feels like a traveling family. It's a lot of fun to be a part of. But yeah, I mean, it's guys we've known for a long time and wanted to be in bands with or have been in bands with. So it's there's a lot of history there already for a band that's only a year, 2 years old. There's a lot of history.
Now, you guys were playing together in the Soul Stew revival, and you've joined each other on each other's band records and stuff, or on stage. But this really is a band now, right?
Yeah, it's an amazing band. It's so much fun, and this one, you know, we definitely have put a lot of work into writing for this project, and also trying to fine tune, you know, different little secret weapons in this band. You know, a lot of people, you know, play different instruments as well as the instruments that they're mainly on,
right.
And also a lot of them sing too. So we're trying to work in everybody and give everybody like a little piece. So it's a lot of fun. It's really amazing.
You're mom at home, but are you mom to the 10 other players in this band?
I try a little bit sometimes.
Yeah.
I like to clean the bus and clean out the fridge and keep things.
Keeps it in line.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure you all get out of hand.
We have a couple other guys
We're
too.
rowdy.
That's sort of like Mr. Moms, so I'm not the only one.
I could see Mike being that way. Is Mike a bit of a Mr. Mom?
A little bit, you know. Really, our drummer Falcon, you know, Tyler. He's really more like that, and Kevy can be like that too, a little nurturing, because he's a good dad.
Yeah, everybody has their role, but people change hats a lot in this band too.
Yeah,
you do. Duncan definitely helps.
Yeah,
a lot too.
One night will be your turn to kind of keep it in, and then the next night you're the one being reined in.
Right.
So it's a good group that way. Everybody watches out for everybody.
I guess with 11 players, it's sort of going to be like that, where one day you're a good guy and one day you're the bad guy, right?
You know, it's funny. We kind of, with a band this big, you kind of bring the scene with you. It's we just did a tour in Europe. We did a lot of train rides, and we decided, you know, we'll just take over a car, like the bar car. The horn players have instruments out. Susan's got an acoustic guitar. It just turns into a traveling show. It's fun that way when the band is big enough where you just kind of bring what you do with you. You know, you don't have to look for it. It's always right there.
Let's talk a bit about the record. It's been out since June, and lots of praise from everybody, and it is a solid record from top to bottom. This is a project that you guys wrote together, right? I mean, it was about writing original music for this project specifically?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we really wanted to make a record about the songs, and a record that would hold up for a long time, you know, a record that would age well, and really happy with the way it turned out. Everybody put a lot of heart, a lot of time and energy into it. The sounds are amazing. The songwriters we worked with were great, and you know, tip of the iceberg though. It's a very new band. So once we knew once we hit the road with these tunes that we'd crack them open and they would just take on a different life, which it has. So we're recording this tour for a live record, then planning on heading back in the studio for another studio record. But it's fun watching the evolution of a band with this much potential. You know, there's so much talent on stage that it's all happening pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, but you know some of these players, so you knew what people were capable of probably before you made the record. Did it blow your mind when you were actually put all the pieces together, that what these players were capable of?
Yeah, and I think we were really surprised at how well everybody played together.
Right.
With that much firepower, it can get unruly. But everybody really serves the song. And Susan singing, everyone gets behind that, and it's about that, and it's about
Yeah.
the song. And then when it shifts to other focuses, everybody's right there. So I was really happy with how sensitive everybody is to listening to what's going on,
Right.
and following the kind of following the leader, whoever that happens to be.
Do you think there's a weird vibe in the room just because, you know, you two are a married couple, obviously, and the Burbages know each other from when they were born, and, you know, Mike has had some history with you, and Tyler's had some history with your band. Is it just a family? I mean, it just comes together naturally, you think, or is there?
I think there's so much natural chemistry and also, like you said, a family kind
Right.
of feeling. You know, I feel like I've known most of the people in the band for over 10 years.
Right.
And it's definitely sort of a creation of all your favorite people and all your
Right.
favorite players. And, you know, you dream someday to have a band like that,
Right.
but you don't ever think it can happen. And, you know, I think everybody in the band knows that. You know, we've all been in all types of bands. And to actually be in a band where we actually love everybody in the band and everybody has such mutual respect, it is a blessing.
Probably makes it easier too on those long hauls where you're hanging out with each other.
Oh yeah,
for
we
so
never
long.
want to go to
Certainly.
bed is the only problem.
Right.
A lot of late nights.
Yeah. Let's talk about Susan singing for a second, because I mean that is, as great as the players are on this record, Susan brings an unbelievable talent to the band in terms of singing. There aren't a lot of people that can sing like Susan, and she sings everything. I mean, there's Delta blues songs on this record, and there's funk songs and soul songs. I mean, is that one of the secret weapons of this band, you think?
Certainly. I mean, when I think about a lot of the bands in our scene, whatever that is, there's a lot of bands with good players. There's a few bands with good singers, but there's not many that have both. And I think that's what sets this group apart. I think that's what set the Allman Brothers apart early on. Is you have a band that can play with anybody, then you have a singer that can sing with anybody. You know?
Right.
And it's that is what makes this unique. Is you have some of the best musicians on earth. They can go instrumentally in any direction, but also vocally. And so you have Susan, you have Mike, you have Mark Rivers, who's an unbelievable vocalist. You have Saunders, our trombone player, who has an amazing voice.
Too.
There's
O'Teal.
O'Teal, yeah,
and
it's
Kofi.
flush.
Yeah, it's a
And
pretty
even
good
JJ,
lineup.
Yeah.
who we haven't got to sing yet because we have so many singers, but
You miss somebody in that lineup. Some guy that plays a red guitar.
That's right. She doesn't sing yet.
But Susan, you play guitar. You know
I do.
how difficult an instrument is to play to get sounds. But this guy, I mean, what
Yeah.
can you say about his playing that hasn't been
it's
said
not
already?
fair. He's so amazing every night, and you know, and actually he's one of the other voices. You know, he's a lot like a singer. You know, he's so melodic, and when he plays guitar and he plays a solo, it's not like most guitar players. I hate to say it, but they what I call kind of wank or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they just basically shred, or you know, they're trying to
She's
play
talking
riffs.
about her playing.
Pretty much.
Not hers.
No,
I'm just joking.
no, I mean, honestly, I mean, whenever he puts a solo together, it's just from the beginning. You know, he builds it and tells a story, and it's always beautiful, and he captures the entire audience every time. And there's not many people that can do that.
But I think that goes for everybody in the band. When everybody gets their turn,
It's
whether it's
true.
Kofi or O'Teal, there's
Or
no
Saunders
wasted
or
notes. There's no
Maurice,
wasted
yeah.
time. Everybody's telling a story. You know, there's no meandering, stretching a solo just to stretch it. It's you say what you got to say.
Yeah.
And then you get out. And luckily, there's a lot to say. So
I would imagine that when you were rehearsing the record, the jams were a lot more significant than what actually made. Is it tough
Oh, yeah.
to take the experience of a live band, and you guys are a live band, let's face it, to take that experience and bottle it up and put it onto record so that it's 12 tracks that come in at like 60 minutes,
Yeah.
and it's not the 2.5-hour show that is the Tedeschi Trucks Band live.
it is. But with this record, we didn't attempt to take a live show and put it on a record. We went into it to make an album. We
Right.
went into it to a lot of the songs. We wrote the song a few hours later. The band shows up, everybody learns the song, and you get the first or second performance on tape. So it wasn't like we had taken the songs on the road and stretched them and then came back and had to condense them.
Right.
We started with the album, and then you break the songs open. So
Right.
I think it's a more natural progression. So it didn't feel like we had to clip anything. It was capturing the songs as they were written, and then knowing that once we hit the road, If you turn this band loose on these tunes, it's gonna
Some freedom, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be another thing, and that's the beauty of starting a band from scratch like this, is you get to catch those different phases. You catch the first glimpse of what the band can do songwriting wise. We do a live record. I'm sure the next studio record will be probably somewhere in the middle of those two, more stretched out, but still a studio record. So it's a fun process. It's a learning curve for sure.
You co-produce this record. Producing is not necessarily something that's new to you. Jim Scott, is that the gentleman's name?
Yeah.
What did he bring to the table that you didn't think that you could handle on your own?
I think more than being worried about not handling it, I had just done my solo record in that studio. Starting a new band, I didn't want it to feel like an extension of that. I wanted it to feel like something different. So bringing Jim in, it was just an outside voice, outside ears. And also, he's just such a pro. He's done so many great records, gets amazing sounds. I think for all of us, it was having somebody, because everybody in the band is up to this level.
Right.
Susan's up to this level. The songs are up to this level.
Right.
We figured we'd bring somebody that had the same experience level at what they did.
Right.
And and me and Bobby Tees, who engineered it, it was a great experience for us too. You learn from one of the masters.
Yeah.
And he has a studio that's really similar to ours, the same equipment, same size room. So it really taught us a lot about what we have and what we can do with it. And and he was a champion for Susan, making sure that she was comfortable, had a place to sing, had the sounds that she wanted.
Right.
So that was really important. So I could focus more on getting the band together, and he could focus on capturing it. And
Right.
And then once we captured everything, it was a matter of just piecing it together. But I wasn't worried, but I figured there would be times where we would just have different views of what should be done, and we really never got to that point. It was really fluid the whole time.
There's an authenticity, I think, to the record that not a lot of people talk about, but that's there. I mean, it feels like you're all having a really good time making this record. Was it a lot of stuff just live off the floor, or were there a couple takes?
Yeah. I mean, the majority of it was live off the floor. A lot of the vocals were live off the floor.
It's definitely a mixture of, sometimes I might have to go back in and re-sing something.
Right.
Or maybe Kofi would put down like 3 other different keyboard parts on top of his one that he played live.
Yeah.
And same with Derek, he actually played rhythm on most of the record and then would solo later, just so he wouldn't pull us off in a different direction each time, because he
Right.
naturally can do that, so well.
8 different solos, probably.
Yeah, and every one is amazing, so how do you choose?
Right.
So it was really an interesting way to make it, a really nice, easy way. And when you talk about the songs,
Yeah.
this was really our first time really sitting and writing together.
Right.
So we sat and wrote this whole record together with other people, but it was our first real attempt at writing together, so that was special. And then it was really special having songs that, could actually get played on the radio. They're not 7-8 minutes long.
Right.
They're 3 and 4 minutes, and you can do, what you have to do to work a record. So we weren't trying to make it commercial or anything. We were just trying to make it more accessible for
Yeah.
people to actually play it.
Well, and that's kind of the way records used to be made, right?
Right,
just
like
that-
Elmore James, he has like 2.5-minute songs, 3-minute
Yeah.
songs.
Even early Allman songs weren't,
Yeah.
Right,
the jams
yeah.
that they
Jimi
have done.
Hendrix.
And even more than that, we
of
started
stuff.
thinking about, what are the records when we're home? What are the albums that we put on consistently? What are the ones that we listen to over and over? And it's Sly Stone, it's
Stevie
Beatle
Wonder.
records, Stevie Wonder records, the old Allman Brothers records,
Right.
And so we wanted to capture those sounds, really wide sounds.
Yeah.
Not over compress it. Modern records are just they're made
Yeah.
to just slam your ears
Right.
and just to be in your face. And we didn't want to do that. I remember when we were mastering the record, Jim Scott, he was just like, I want it quieter, to the point where it's almost too quiet. When you put it next to other records, you really have to turn it up. But
Yeah.
the thing is, you can turn it up.
That's
You
not a
can-
bad thing.
You can turn it up and it stays warm and
Right.
it stays big and it's not fatiguing that way.
Yeah,
And,
it doesn't hurt your feelings.
I think, especially when you're cutting it to vinyl too, it's important to keep that sonic space.
Well, how important is that? I mean, a lot of those older records were made thinking about vinyl. I
Yeah.
mean, that's not something that you guys necessarily think about when you're cutting a record, but
Well, we
did.
did.
Did you?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we're using old analog equipment.
Right.
It's kind of a hybrid because it's going to go digital. Most people are going to hear it digitally, so
Right.
you got to you think about both. But we cut it in the old style of one of the things I loved about working with Jim Scott is we'd finish a track or you'd finish an overdub. It's like, you think we can do that better? He's like, it sounds like a record to me. Like, it sounds like a record. It sounds natural, and that's what we're looking for.
And he would know.
Yeah, I guess he would.
He has made a lot of amazing records.
You went back with Herbie Hancock. There was the space. What is it called?
Space Captain.
Space Captain. Was that cut after the record or
Before.
Before the record.
That was really the first time this band got together. It was the first time we had Oteil Kofi, me and Susan, Mike Madison, together in the studio, thinking about this project. So it was a great way to kick it off with Herbie Hancock down in your studio and Vinnie Caliuta, and we knew we were onto something. We knew we were not going to have Herbie with us for the rest of our career, but it's a good way to kick it off.
Where do you put that guy in this band? Now you have
No,
him and Mavis Staples know they're in the band. They can come anytime.
Anytime, right.
Open invitation.
Yep.
Yeah.
We ran into Mavis recently, and she was like, I'm just going to get up there. I'm just going to come on up and join your band. We're like, anytime.
Right.
Just please, like, take over.
That happens a lot. I mean, you have a lot of, by the nature of the bands that you're in, and specifically, you're in that band called the Allman Brothers Band, you have a lot of friends, like all over wherever you are.
Yeah.
Is that cool that these people, these legendary people, Mavis or Herbie Hancock or even Warren Haynes, want to share a stage with two young musicians? I mean, that must be crazy cool.
Yeah, I mean,
Super cool.
Yeah, it's humbling,
It is. It's an honor.
It makes you feel like you're on the right track, when you look up at a show and you see Herbie in the audience. You're like, it can't be that bad. Either that or he's just really nice, which is probably true.
But he is really nice.
You mentioned that you're cutting a live record now on the road, and I'm sure you're working on another TTB record. Are there solo projects still on the horizon, or this is it for now?
I think for now we focus in on this. I mean, it's a big undertaking, so there's not a lot of
got a lot of mouths to feed now.
Yeah,
and not a lot of free time.
Yeah,
if we had more free time, we would probably make solo records too, while we were doing this. Just
and,
for fun.
and having the studio there, we'll get around to a lot of
We'll
other
do
things.
everything.
But right now, this is the work in progress, and there's a lot to be done still. So.
Right.
We have lots of ideas. We want to make all different types of
you
records.
got a hot band, right? You want to milk that for all it's worth, probably.
And not only that, I mean, for a band like this, for any band to reach its potential, you got to gig, you got to play. You can't just do a one-off here, cut a record, and that's it. You got to hit the road. All the good bands we've ever been in, just you log hundreds and hundreds of concerts until you hit that critical spot. There's this critical mass that you reach, and that's when it becomes a thing. When the sound becomes a thing, the whole atmosphere changes, and that's what we're getting to, I think.
That's really old school thinking, though, right? I mean, there's kids that are making records on TV and then are gigging a bit, and they don't last necessarily.
Yeah, and you'll talk about them for a few months, and then you'll forget who they are.
Right,
so,
right.
We're in. We take the long view. The music we love, the stuff we're into, it took time to make it. It took time for people to understand it and come around to it. But it lasts, and it's there, and it's the stuff that they're teaching in schools, and it's the stuff that still young musicians are going to. It's the same well that they keep going to, and it's because people at one point, and there's still bands that do it. You do things the right way. Real things take time. Real music takes time, and if it's worth doing, it's worth putting your energy into. And if it's not, then here today, gone tomorrow.
How soon are the two kids going to be in the Tedeschi Trucks Band?
We'll see.
I don't know.
See.
Our son is already trying to get a job selling merch with us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he wants to hit the road.
He's like, can I have a job? I'm like, no, you're 9. We go to jail, probably.
Although.
Under the table.
Yeah.
No.
Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you, man.
And for taking the time making great music.
Beautiful.
First and foremost, and then for coming in and talking about it. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Good to see you.
Thank you.